Thanks a lot, Ronit, for joining in. And for folks who just joined in, I'll maybe give a quick introduction of Ronit. So I started following Ronit about a year and a half back. And, he's like one of those smart people on the internet who actually put out good content. He has a great YouTube channel where he talks about freelancing and startups. You should definitely check it out. And he also has an Instagram page, which is also pretty popular and puts out really good content, right? In this world where we have a lot of clickbaity content, a lot of people trying to get attention, Ronit is one of those very few people who actually sends out value and sort of shares his experiences of freelancing, of his experience of starting up and working with a bunch of brands. Right now, Ronit is a freelancer. He's a professional freelancer, I would say. Works with a bunch of US companies, and that's going to be like the core agenda of today's talk as well. How do you actually become a professional freelancer? Like, how does the life look like? And how do you get international clients? How do you start working with good startups and brands? And I think no other person than Ronit would be the perfect person for this. So thanks, Ronit, for joining in, and over to you. We're going to do like a 30-minute talk, and then at the end, we'll take the Q&A.
Thanks, Harish, for the awesome introduction. Hi, guys. My name is Ronit Mangnani. For people in the chat who are actively chatting or whatever, just can you just give me a thumbs up or whatever if you can hear me clearly so that I can get started? Okay, everyone can hear me. Awesome. So look, freelancing and getting international clients, it's such a broad topic that I can go on hours and hours about it, and still we'll be left with some topics to cover. So I think what I'll do is I'll go through all of the components of this very quickly. And let me just change the view real quick so that the chat is not distracting. This is good. Yeah. Sure. So yeah, I'll be going through all of the components very, like over the top. And then if you want to go deep into those to learn how to actually execute those, I'll also be sharing resources along the way. So first, let me introduce myself, as in like Harish already introduced about what I've done and everything. But I'll specifically talk about the type of clientele I've worked with so that you can get an idea why I'm the right person for you to take advice from, right? Because what's more important than the right advice is that you need to take it from the right person. If you take it from a non-practitioner, it'll probably not work. So I started freelancing in 2019. Started freelancing on platforms initially, which was Fiverr, Upwork, and stuff like that. And then kind of got bored of it. Thought that there were a lot of there was a lot of competition on it, and I didn't want to be in a commodity market. A commodity market, what it means is that everyone is doing the same thing and everyone is trying to get the same customers or clients, and I didn't want that. I want to create my own market, like create my own reputation so that people want to work with me. They recognize the name and stuff like that, and I don't have to depend on the competition. But that's how I started. For most of like basically entire 2019, I just worked with Indian clients. That included e-commerce companies, that included tech companies, and it was great. When you start freelancing and you start making money, you feel everything is going great. But I'm a big fan of smart work, right? Which is you work hard, but you work hard on the right things, which means that you get more results with the same amount of effort. And the way I did that was I realized that if I can work with international clients, I can make maybe 5 times more money by working just as hard. Okay. And how is that? It's because there's this difference in cost of living. Okay. And what it basically means is that in US, the difference, like the cost of living is 5 times, maybe 5 times higher than it is in India. Now, if you're working for a US company or if you're a US freelancer, but you are also living in the US, which means you have to spend for your expenses in US dollars, then it kind of becomes the same thing because you are, of course, you are making more money, but then you're also burning more money. On the other hand, if you are earning, like if you're working with US clients and you're earning in dollars, and then you are spending it in rupees, which means you are living in India, that difference is quite huge. And that's where most of the profitability of working with US clients lies. It's you work with US clients so that you can charge them 5 times more than what you are charging Indian clients. And then your expenses are low, right? Because the softwares you use, everything will be purchased in India. Let's say if I purchase a Dropbox subscription in India or anything, right? It's different than in the US, not for all softwares, but just giving you an example. So I started in 2019, worked with Indian clients, and then in 2020, I realized I should be working with international clients. And there was also this level of excitement, right? When you start freelancing, you are excited to work with clients, but after you work with clients for a long time, you're like, now I want to work with big clients. Now I want to work with premium clients who pay more, who understand you more, who are very professional and things like that. So in 2020, I started working with clients in the US. My first client was an author and an entrepreneur in the US. Worked with them for quite a while, and then kind of they liked the service so much they recommended me to a lot of people. And see, in business or in the professional world in general, there are a lot of ways to accomplish the same thing. Okay, if you want to accomplish a certain task, there are maybe 5, 10 ways to achieve the same thing, and different people do different things. What I did, like the way I got international clients, was through cold outreach and building a network. What cold outreach basically means is that you use prospecting tools on the internet to see where your ideal clients are, and then you reach out to them through emails. They like your service, and then they refer you to other people, and that's how you build your network. And once you become the guy for a certain niche, right? And I'll be talking about niche and why it's important. The recommendations flow in like really quickly. This year I haven't sent out a lot of cold emails because I get a lot of referrals, so I don't have to. But that's how I started. The clientele includes VC funded startups in San Francisco, entrepreneurs in Texas, marketers, authors. I've worked with all kinds of people in the US, and only in the US, not even in the UK. So when I talk about international, my main market has been US, because I'll be talking about niche and why it's so important. I have strictly kept the location as US, so that just all these people who know each other in the market can refer me to them. Okay, because the more broad you go, the harder it gets to create a name for yourself, right? I really love this quote, which is, be a big fish in a small pond instead of a small fish in a big pond. So own like a really small part of the market instead of just reaching out to everyone. So that's the clients I've worked with. Currently, I'm like at most at a single point of time, I'm managing 3 to 4 clients, because all of them are on a retainer model. It's not like project work, which is I do something, they pay me, and then we are on our own separate ways. They pay me monthly for the service of social media management and content repurposing, if I were to term that correctly. But it's too broad, so different things in there as well. So at most, I'm managing 3 to 4 clients at one time. And right now, the clientele includes a VC funded startup, Series A, in San Francisco, an entrepreneur in Texas. And I can't name these people because we have to maintain confidentiality, and then an author in Washington, D.C. But if you've been following me for a while, I've been talking about that a lot. So maybe you can get the idea. So that's how the journey has been. And as I said, the difference in cost of living is what makes it a lot more profitable. If you are starting as a freelancer, and if you start targeting US clients, even if you have no experience, you can charge at least $10 to $15 per hour. Okay, if of course, if you have the confidence to sell, if you have the confidence to talk and stuff like that. And $10 to $15 per hour, which is what, 700,000 rupees per hour, if you ask to an Indian client as a new freelancer, as a beginner, it's very hard to get, because here the price of projects is different, everything is different, which I already explained. So let's get into the meat of the things, that how do you get international clients. And I explained why is it important to get international clients. Now let's get into the how. I'm not reading the chat as of now. We will have a Q&A session after like 30 minutes. When I'm done going through all the topics, we will have a Q&A session, and we'll answer your questions as well. So getting international clients is more of a mindset shift than a tactical shift, is what I think. So the reason it's a mindset shift is, when you start, and this is basically sales, right? You have to reach out to people, you have to book meetings, you have to close deals. And in sales, it's very hard to be optimistic. Basically, like, you face 1 or 2 rejections and then you are shattered, which is why it's more of a mindset shift. So you have to be really optimistic when you go after these people, right? You have to have a lot of self-confidence. And the way I did it was the classic code of fake it till you make it, right? What you have to do is, you have to imagine yourself as if you are like a world-class freelancer, or as if everyone in the world knows you. And if you fake that, your confidence in meetings will be different, even though that's not true. Okay, it's not like you have to lie to them in the meetings. It's just that you have to think that, so that you can be a lot more confident when you are reaching out to them in emails, or when you are selling them on the meeting, right? So that's the first thing. You have to be really optimistic. In sales, rejection is the name of the game. You are going to get rejected. Like a lot of times, most of your emails will not get any responses. Most of the meetings you book will keep, getting rescheduled, and then you'll lose faith. But that's what you have to be aware of, because it's a learning curve, right? First few months can be brutal, but after that it starts getting good, right? So that's the first mindset shift which you need to make. Be really confident on these meetings by just faking it in your mind that, as if you are habitual of speaking to large companies and people internationally, right? So that's the first thing. And because this session is focused on how to get international clients, I'm already assuming that you already have your service in place, which is, what you want to do. So I'll not be going through those things, right? But the next thing I want to talk about is the importance of a niche, which is in this day and age where everyone has a computer and an internet and everyone can basically compete with you after they learn a skill, it's very hard to differentiate from the competition. And the way I did it, the way I kind of defeated the competition, was choosing a very small niche, which is, I'm not going after everyone. Okay. I have a very small niche, which is personal and business brands in the US who already have a content channel, which is either they're already doing YouTube or either they're already doing podcasts or whatever, and they're looking for help to expand on all platforms. See how specific this niche is. Okay. When I started, you know what my niche was? Video editing, graphic design. Whoever needs help, I'll do it. And of course, that didn't work. And when the market was too broad, I made little money. But when I got really specific about the niche and I started reaching out to those people, that's where I made the most money. And you know why? It's because when you choose a small niche, okay, it's the amount of referrals you get can be like very, very high. And you'll always beat a vanilla freelancer because you are a niche freelancer. And what a vanilla freelancer means is that someone who does everything. Let's say if you own a spa, okay, I'm just giving you an example. Who will you hire? A person who designs websites or a person who only designs websites for spas? Of course, the latter, right? So that's the importance of picking a niche. That's a very easy way to beat the competition. It's like it's just a decision away, right? It's not you have to do a lot of hard work. It's just that you pick a niche, and then because it's a small niche, all of those people in that niche know each other very well. Because of course it's a small niche. It's not like everyone in the US or whatever. So when you do that, you get a lot of referrals. You start building your reputation in the market, that hey, who's this guy who is helping all of us with this kind of thing? Have you heard about him? And that's how your reputation grows. That's how you get a lot of leads. So that was the importance of niche. And now let's talk about the direct things, right? That okay, you know your niche, you are ready to face the sales game. Now you need to start reaching out. How do you do that? The first part of it is prospecting, which is how do you find these people? And prospecting, the first thing you have to do is, and I'll answer your questions later during the Q&A session. Let me just cover all the topics now. So prospecting, first you have to create an ideal client persona or an ideal client profile, or different people call it different things. So an ICP, what it is you basically describe what your ideal client looks like. So for me, it was a personal or business brand in the US. And personal brand is like a person putting out content on the internet. A business brand is a company putting out content on the internet to get customers to grow their business. So that was the first point. The second point was the location should be in the US. The third point was they already should have a channel like on YouTube or podcast or anything, a long form channel. And the fourth point was they are looking to basically expand and grow their brand and all of that stuff. So when you know who you are going after, it gets easier to actually reach out to those people, because you can be sure that I know who these people are, so I can be creative about where to find them. And the best prospecting tool for most services, not all, for most services, is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It offers you a lot of filters. You can filter through industry, you can filter through company size, you can do a lot of things. So if your service is B2B, like classic B2B, I'm talking about, like my service is also B2B, but it's not very direct, right? Its content is still like a bit different, because most people put it out through their personal channels. But if your service is classic B2B, which is either you are doing performance marketing or you have an ad agency doing creatives and stuff, when it's a very specific B2B play, LinkedIn Sales Navigator is the best. You will get unlimited leads. Go through a simple YouTube course or whatever for free on LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get started. The first 30 days are free, so you can use it for as much time as you want, and I think that will be great. But for some services where the ICP is not based on the filters offered by LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you have to be creative about where to find these people. And that's where the second mindset shift comes in. You know, when you are selling on the internet, right, when you are reaching out to people on LinkedIn or on emails or stuff like that, you subconsciously, you know, are negative whether this will even work or not. But what you have to realize is these are real people. Okay, let's say if you are in a Facebook group and you are trying to get clients through that, it, because you can't actually see those people and you're not face to face with them, and because India is such a traditional business society that when you were growing up you've seen people doing meetings in person, it can kind of get negative that what is this, I'm just roaming around in a Facebook group or in a Reddit channel or on LinkedIn or on email, whatever. But what you have to realize is on the other end there's a real person sitting. Okay, so when you make that mindset switch, it gets easier to sell because you know that this is actually real. It's not like you're wasting your time. So if your ICP is not, you know, if you can't find those people through the filters offered in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, if I take my example, LinkedIn Sales Navigator didn't work for me because it didn't have any filter that personal and business brands, or of course it had the filter of location, which was the US, but that alone wasn't important, right? And I also needed the point of they should already have a content channel and they are looking to expand, and those filters weren't there. So I had to be creative about where to find these people. So, you know, what I did was I used to go into Reddit channels which were around content marketing and LinkedIn hashtags content marketing and everywhere, right? People who were talking about content. And then I used to go through their profiles. And then if I felt, okay, these people fit my ICP, then I used to reach out. So there is no one size fits all answer. There is no one direct answer for everyone on how you can find clients or how you can find prospects. Either use LinkedIn Sales Navigator if those filters are enough for you, or if those are not enough for you, you have to be creative about where you can find these people. Just brainstorm that where these people might be hanging out. If there is a very niche Facebook group, let's say if you are targeting software developers in London, if there's a group, right, that London software developers ka Facebook group or whatever, then that's a great channel for you to prospect. Or if there's a Reddit channel of local businesses in Virginia and US, then that's a great prospecting channel for you if that's your target market. So that's how you have to think about this. And once you've got your prospecting channel sorted, once you have a lot of prospects, then what you have to do is actually reaching out. And for this, I'll recommend you two guides or two handbooks. One is which I share all the time. The second one is which I don't share a lot of times because I discovered it later. But I think I have screen share access and I'll just show you those guides on screen share itself. So screen share. Yeah. Can you guys see my screen? Just say yes in chat or whatever. I can see the chat for some reason. Okay, yes, you can see my screen. Sure. So see, the first one is Abhinav Arora cold email guide. This is awesome. This was the first one I read, and this was the one which I used in the beginning to get the initial few clients. So this is awesome. There's a lot of information in here. As you can see on the left, there are things you need to know about cold emailing before you get started, getting your emails noticed, read, and replied to, automating your emails and everything. And the part which I mainly want to talk about is are these templates, right? If let's say you have just a few prospects and you don't want to run like a mass campaign, you can reach out to these people through these templates, which is there are basically 12 templates, I think. So this is the first one is the respectful open, which is, so there are these placeholders, right, which you just have to change. So instead of first name, you can just enter their name, professional title, and you can get all of this information through LinkedIn. Even when you prospect through a different channel, then you can look them up on LinkedIn and see what they do and stuff like that. And then you can personalize those emails accordingly. So these are the templates, a lot of them. You can use any of them. I used this one, straight jump to a helping hand, when I started. Worked really well for me. So this will be the one I recommend. But you can also use others, right, based on different situations. So definitely go through this guide. All you have to do is search on Google Abhinav Arora cold email guide. And then I'll also show you like a different one, which was Julian cold email guide or something. Yeah, how startups run B2B sales. This one is awesome. Okay, and I discovered this later. uh, so definitely go through this. So this talks a lot about B2B sales strategy, website pages, A/B testing, stuff like that. And it also talks about the sales process, right? So people who aren't aware about sales, definitely go through this. It talks about what are leads, what are, inbound leads, outbound leads, prospecting, everything. So you can go. It also talks about ACVs, which is average client value or something like that, annual contract value, basically. And then here is the main part, right? Cold emails. So it also has templates, as you can see. This is a good template, and then it has a lot of tips on how you can, personalize these emails, what metrics to track, and stuff like that. So that's what you can do. I stopped screen share because those were the two guides which I wanted to share. Definitely go through those two guides; they will help you a lot. So we talked about prospecting, we talked about reaching out through emails, right? And I'm going through the surface level of all of these things, because if I go deep, we can go for like 2 or 3 days. But go through the resources I shared, because those go deep into it. Once you send emails, right, and you have a meeting booked, because yeah, the goal of a cold email is not to sell. Okay, the goal of a cold email is to get on a meeting. The meeting is where the selling happens. So keep that in mind. You don't have to sell on emails. I see a lot of people selling on emails, which is they share their price, they share other things. The only goal of a cold email is to get a meeting. If a person asks you to just keep the conversation over email and they don't want to do meeting, that's a different thing. But mostly the goal of cold email is to get a meeting. Now once you get on the meeting, this is where the fake it till you make it part comes in, right? You have to be, very incredibly confident, and your, of course, like your speech should be really good, because see, these are professional people, right? US clients, if you're working with, especially companies right now. I started working with individuals first, because I didn't have the confidence of selling to large companies. But now I've sold to them as well. I've sold to startups. And especially in the Bay Area, right, which is San Francisco, which is like the hub of startups or whatever. So those clients are so professional. You have to be very confident in your speech, in your, there shouldn't be any amount of doubt. And you might think that how will that happen on the first meeting itself? It won't. It will take time. You'll probably lose initial few clients just because you are getting better at meetings. But initially, I mean, over time it will get better. Okay. So on meetings, the two things you have to know. The first I already talked about, which is you have to be really confident, and when you talk, they should be like, okay, this is the guy we need. Okay. The second thing is, the only focus the only thing you should focus on the meeting is how you can help the other person. No techniques, no, quote unquote sales hacks or whatever to try to close the deal, because most of them don't work. And even if you are trying, those clients internationally are so professional, they can know that you are using a sales trick or whatever. So for me, what has worked best is the only focus should be on helping them. And if on the meeting you realize that your service is actually not good for them and they are better off doing something else or whatever, tell them that as well. Because I did that once, and what happened was, they respected it so well that they referred me to other people, right? So the only goal should be to help the other person. That's the only way you can have them on the meeting for 30 to 45 minutes. Otherwise, if they think you are selling to them, they'll leave in like 15 to 20 minutes. So that's what your goal should be. Only goal should be on helping them. You have to understand the problem really well. This is another point, right? What most people do is they reach out, they say, okay, meri ad agency hai, or I am doing graphic design, or I do video editing, and they're selling a solution, right? But what clients really want is someone who understands their problem really, really well. And if you go through the second cold email guide which I shared, which was Julian's cold email guide, which is how startups run B2B sales, in that template of cold email, you have to include your nuanced understanding of their industry, right? Which is how well you understand their problem. Because if I'm selling them social media services and another person is also selling them social media services, but I understand their problem really well, which is why they are struggling on social media so much. And this you can only do through personalization. Okay, if you are reaching like hundreds and hundreds of people, it gets very, very hard, because uh, you'll you'll think that you can personalize for everyone, right? And that's what most people get wrong. These days cold emails are so competitive. They've always been, but these days they're so competitive that if you don't personalize, the chances of them working are very slim. So personalize very heavily, understand their problem really well. And if you do that, if you understand their problem better than others, then they'll surely be interested in talking with you, because that's what clients want, right? And I also get all of these emails, right? Because I have a YouTube channel or whatever. A lot of people reach out to me that, hey, I can do thumbnails for you. Hey, I can do video editing for you. All of them are selling me solutions. No one is understanding my problem really well. No one spends time to understand why I'm struggling in that area or what my problem is, right? So keep those 2 to 3 things in mind. First, you have to be incredibly confident. If you don't believe you are, just fake it till you make it. Just try to fake it on the meeting, because you're not lying to them. Okay, you are just faking your confidence. The second is, the only focus should be on helping them throughout the meeting, right? The only focus should be on how you can help them solve the problem that they're having. The third point is, you have to understand their problem better than other people, which means you have to understand the nuances of their problem. Because see, if there's a problem, right? If let's take a common problem, which is businesses want to grow through paid media, right? Paid ads. So everyone has this problem, right? Problem meaning that they want someone who can do it for them. But the nuances are different. Some might be struggling because of one thing, some might be struggling because of another thing. So if you can point out that nuance in different emails, then the chances of replies are very high. And that's when you can kind of get them on a meeting and impress them with your nuanced understanding. So those were 2 or 3 things which you have to keep in mind on meetings. And again, I'm saying this again, I'm going through very surface level of these things. If you want to go deep, I've shared resources, and of course a lot of Google and YouTube will help you a lot, because there are a lot of freelancers and people who run agencies who share their knowledge. That's how I learned from them and I got started, and you can do the same. And then you can just close the deal, okay? Because once you've done those things, and then uh, and the last thing which you need to keep in mind is, a lot of the times you get rejected in sales, not because you are not good enough or because you did some mistake. It's just because there's some mismatch of needs. You can be the best, your services can be the best, you can be the best salesman ever, but if their problems don't really match with your solution, the deal is not going to close. And you have to keep that in mind, that it's not always your fault. I would say most of the times it's not your fault. It's just a mismatch of needs and solutions. And if they match, and if you've done those things really well, and if you do those things repeatedly, over a few months, you get better at it. And then I think that after that meeting, they'll just ask you for the price, and then you can close the deal. Let's talking about closing the deal. If you like, this is debatable, but I don't recommend everyone to start with contracts initially, because there are some legal aspects to it. You don't know how to kind of set up a contract or whatever. You can use a template from the internet, but again, what you have to remember is, there is no contract fairy going around settling on all the contracts. If a client is very suspicious, or if you work with a company who seems suspicious, right, that whether they'll pay you or not, then I say just don't work for them at all, because even if they sign their contract, it's up to them to pay, right? So the way I solved this problem was, I only worked with credible clients, which was and the way you can judge credibility and the way you can judge authority is, you can go through their websites, you can go through their LinkedIn profiles, you can go through what they've done, right? And that will just give you an idea about how good of a business or how good of a person they are, and then you can work with them. And after a while, you can get into different things. And with freelancing, it's not just getting clients. There are a lot of aspects to it. There are, how do you manage your taxes, how do you set up your bank accounts, the softwares you use, the way you maintain relationships with your clients, the way you do documentation is really important when you're working with international clients. Because when I used to work with Indian clients, literally I was just in touch with them on WhatsApp. I didn't even used to send them an invoice. It was just, I just used to text them that, hey, this is the money you need to send me. And they used to, transfer me an account or whatever they used to send me the payment screenshot WhatsApp, and that was done. When you're working with international clients, it's not as simple. Okay. You have to do a lot of documentation, and there are multiple things, but I think I'll jump into Q&A now. And there's no hard time limit of 5 to 6 p.m. I have nothing scheduled till 6:30. So even if the questions are more, we can definitely take them. And I know I went through all of these things pretty quickly, but that was the only way to cover kind of everything under 30 or 45 minutes. But Q&A is where I can go deep. You can ask me very, very specific questions, and I hope I'll be able to answer them very well. Yeah.
Yeah, Ronit, that was a really great session. I see a lot of very specific questions also being asked in the chat box. Like people are saying that I know this skill. How do I select my niche? So let me just select one and send them over to you. And also just so that we can get as many questions as possible, let's try to keep it like 5 minutes at max per answer, so that we can get like as many questions as possible.
Yeah.
So basically, some guy asked. Some guy is into Android development, web development, and graphic design and video editing. Right now, how does he select a niche? How does he know what to go into?
Before choosing a niche, you should first choose a skill. Okay, these are like a lot of skills. So choose a skill. Choose the one which you gravitate towards, which you also enjoy doing, right? And which you already have some experience in. Because see, the way I got into social media was that I was a social media content creator myself. Or I for 1.5 years I was a YouTuber, grew my channel. Then I started a podcast, grew that, got into the top 50 of Spotify or whatever. Then did an internship around social media. And then I thought, if I have a lot of experience in this, why should I learn a different skill? So that's what I got started with. So choose the skill which you have, which you have been doing for a long time, or which you are just generally interested in. Once you choose that skill, and again, there are different ways to go through this. Okay, you can also not choose a niche and use platforms like Fiverr and Upwork to get clients for just that one skill. That you can also do, but that's just not what I did. As I said in the beginning, there are multiple ways to get the same thing done. But if you really want to beat competition overall, you have to choose a niche, which is, if you want to do Android development, why not choose a niche like you do Android development for startups in Washington, DC, in US. So choose a niche like that, own a small part of market really, really well. And then, some people ask me that, why would a person who works with everyone not be able to do what I do for like clients in Washington, DC? It's because your processes, your systems will be customized for the problems which those specific group of people face, which is what will make you better in comparison to other people. So that's how you can choose a niche. First choose a skill, and then with niche also, it's not like you just think about it and then you're like, okay, this is my niche. It's not like that. You slowly discover it. Okay, so when I started with graphic design and video editing for Indian clients. Then I thought, okay, I don't want to do this for everyone. I only want to do it for social media, like creating content for Instagram, YouTube editing, and all of that stuff. And then I niched down further, that why should I work with Indian clients? I should work with international clients. Okay, and when I niched down to that, it was still pretty broad. It was like anyone who needs help with social media in the US. And then I further niched it down to just entrepreneurs, marketers, startups, and stuff like that. So that's how you discover your niche. It's not that you just think about it and you go. You can do that, but that would be, I think, not a good way to do that, because you can just guess which will be the best niche for you. When you get a lot of experience, when you see where the opportunity is, that's where you can niche down specifically.
Yeah, that makes sense. So a lot of people are asking, I'm new to freelancing. What is the best platform? So like, if you could just answer, like, what is off the top of your head, what is the best platform that you think would be helpful in just starting off?
See, you shouldn't pick favorites in the beginning, because see, in the beginning when you need clients, I recommend to use everything at your disposal. Use Fiverr, use Upwork, use cold emails, use, put out content on social media, do everything to get clients. And what will happen is, over the period of 1 or 2 months, you will discover the channel which is working the best for you. Because see, the problem with telling you what the best platform is it's different for different services. Okay, for a particular, now like my service, okay, content repurposing and social media management, the search volume of this service on Fiverr and Upwork is really low. So if I would just state that, no, I will just focus on platforms, cold emailing ye sab nahi karna hai, then it wouldn't have worked, right? So try everything, all the 7 to 8 ways available to you. Use Fiverr, use Upwork. There are also vertical freelancing platforms, which is, they are only focused on certain skills. Let's say if you are into graphic design, there is 99 designs and some other stuff like that, which are only focused on one skill. So try those platforms, try cold emailing, do networking on LinkedIn and whatever. Try everything. Over the period of 1 or 2 months, you realize what platform is working best for your service, and then you can double down on that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So some people are asking, how do I set prices for my services? And I think that's a good question.
So when I was thinking about this, right, how do I set my prices for my services? And I, used to search about formulas for setting your price and whatever. I came across this video of Gary Vee, and you guys can search this on YouTube, which is how to price your marketing services. And you can use this for any service, but search how to price your marketing services Gary Vee, and it's a short video, 3 to 4 minutes. In that he tells that there is no magic formula to set your price, right? You literally come up with something, like you guess that okay, this would be a good price, and if a lot of people say no, like 10-15 people say no, then you think okay, maybe I should lower it. And if people are saying yes, if more than usual people are saying yes, maybe you should increase it. Okay, so you always have to keep a balance. And first, when you are just getting started, I think you just have to guess your pricing. And again, it depends on what type of service it is, because if it's a project based work, let's say you are a logo designer, you design logos, this is a project based work, right? You design the logo, you get paid, over, khatam. If you do that, then the pricing, methodologies and everything is different. But if you're working with clients on a monthly basis, then either you can charge them a monthly price, or if you're working with clients hourly, which I used to do and still do for some clients, then you can just come up with something. My recommendation would be to start with 15 or $20 per hour. You can also start with $10 per hour if you're not very confident that you will be able to deliver a good service. But whichever model you choose, you just have to come up with something. Okay, just guess a price which will be good, maybe research what other people are charging. But there is no perfect price, right? In sales, what you have to remember is price is always just an agreement between two people. Okay, there is no set price for anything. Some agencies charge $5,000 for a service, some agencies charge $10,000 for the same service. It's always an agreement between the client and the freelancer or the agency. It's not that one set price for a service in the market. That's not how it works. So just come up with something. If you get a lot of rejection, maybe lower it. If you get a lot of acceptance, maybe increase it, because if a lot of people are accepting it, maybe it's lower than it should be, and these type of things. And whichever price you choose, keep increasing it, after you. So let's say if you get a client for $500 per month, the next client you try to get should be 750 or maybe 1,000 if you're really confident. And then the third client should be even more. And then you will kind of hit a ceiling where you start getting a lot of rejection. Then you stop there, you maintain your spot, and then you build your brand, right? The only way in the long term to charge more to these clients is to build a brand, which is put out content on different platforms about what you do, case studies, different things which just position you as the expert in your niche for that particular service. Because if you have a lot of reputation, people would want to work with you even if you charge higher. And that's what basic branding principles are, right? You buy branded shoes and clothes, even though they are costlier, is because they have a brand, they have a reputation. So that's how you can increase your price in the long term. Initially, just come up with something and just keep tweaking it. It's not like you have to charge the same price to all clients, because they don't have any active communication between each other, right? They maybe don't even know each other. So it's not that if you are charging this client less and this client more, something wrong is going to happen. It's totally up to you. And yeah, that's my viewpoint.
Yeah, nice. That makes sense. So I'm just scrolling down. I see a lot of people asking the similar questions too. Should I give a free trial to my client? Should I work for free in the beginning? I don't have any credibility. So how would someone, start go forth about
Definitely.
that?
I forgot to talk about this in the beginning. I also started by working for free, right? That's the only way you can get that first testimonial in, on first samples in or whatever. So definitely start working for free, because if you're trying to be genuinely helpful, which I talked about, and you're also working for free, then it becomes a no-brainer for the client, right? So what I used to do was I used to give them 1 week free trials. Okay, 1 month was too long. I thought if they don't sign a contract after that, then what's the point? So I used to work for free for like 1 week, and after that, the classic dialogue freelancers or agencies use is, okay, we have worked, you see the value. If you would rather have me than lose me, then pay me this much and we can strike a deal. And if you don't see the value in this, then maybe we can part ways. But free work is definitely a great way to build that initial credibility and get those initial samples in. And yeah, definitely get started with free work, but don't overdo it. Okay, I see people working for free for a long time. Okay, don't just say I'll work for free for you until you see the value. They might keep exploiting you. So set a time limit as well. And I think a 1 week free trial would be good for retainer services. If it's a project work, then maybe you can design a logo for them with their watermark, or you can be creative about that. Okay, there are just too many variables and too many types of services out there, so the answer differs for everyone. But free work is a great way to get yourself in the door and get started work with clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. So again, people are asking, how can I start getting international clients? I know you talked a lot about it, how you could, but what would be the the best method that you thought gave you the most success in reaching out to international clients? Was it cold email, Fiverr, Upwork, or something else?
For my service, cold emails work the best, which is why I stick to them. Okay, but the key point here, the key insight here is it's different for every service. Okay, that's why I'm saying this again and again. Fiverr and Upwork work brilliantly for certain types of services. Okay, didn't work for me, so I just shifted to cold email. So that's what you have to keep in mind. It's different for every service. The only way to figure that out is try everything in the beginning, and then the one which is working the best, you can double down on that. That's what I would say. And getting international clients, right, it's not as hard as you think. Like, once I've done it for like 1.5 years, it feels like very easy for me, because it will just feel hard for the first time, but when you crack that first deal, you'll be completely changed for life, because sales is such a good skill to have. It's hard to learn, it's hard to face rejection, but once you learn it, you are like, okay, I can sell anything. If I have a service or if I have a product, all I have to do is find the right people, reach out to them in the right way, do the right things on the meeting, and then I have the money in my account. So there are like, if you want to reach out to international clients, it's just how you prospect, which is the prospecting channel should offer you clients internationally. And then it's just doing the right things, figuring out which channel works best for you. And yeah, there is no one size fits all answer for everyone, because services are different, different industries are different, needs are different, solutions are different. So there are a lot of moving parts here and there, which is why there is no one answer for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. So and what platform do you use to accept payments from clients abroad?
I started with PayPal because PayPal was the only one at that time which worked without having a registered business. So with Stripe, right? I am using Stripe right now. With Stripe, you need a registered business, which is a sole proprietorship, basically a GST number, to accept international payments. With PayPal, you didn't need that before. I don't think you need it even now. All you need is like your PAN card and some things, but you don't need a registered business, and you can accept international payments. But PayPal is quite expensive. The fees is very high. Their exchange rates are capped. And by exchange rates are capped, I mean they are not actual like mid-market rates going on. They have like a cap. So if it's like 71, 72, maybe PayPal's exchange rate is 70 or 69, or there's something like that. There's a difference between the mid-market rate going on in reality and what PayPal offers you, because that's how PayPal makes money. They kind of, the person who is paying doesn't have to pay anything extra or whatever. The money goes out of your pocket, the person who is receiving it, because of exchange rate difference. Then there's also 18% IGST, then there's also service fees. So, but you can start with PayPal. You can also use TransferWise, which is now known as just Wise. That's also very good. But that is that, because see, in US most people are comfortable with PayPal, and nowadays they are also comfortable with Stripe, because most people have shifted to Stripe. But you can also use TransferWise if your client agrees to it. There are a lot of platforms, but those three come top of my mind. Currently I'm using Stripe. It's awesome, but I don't recommend going through the hassle of setting up a business, getting your firm registered, doing all the legalities, getting GST, because after you get GST, you also have to file returns every month, right? So you need a CA for that. So don't fall into all of these things in the beginning. In the beginning, you don't need a website, you don't need a registered business, you don't need a person helping you, you don't need any of that quote unquote fancy stuff, right? All you need is a paying client. Once you get that, once there's money flowing in, then you can expand into all of these extra things. Okay, so in the beginning, focus on making things functional, which is things should work. Payment platforms, PayPal है वो expensive है थोड़ा, कोई बात नहीं. You are getting the money, which means it's functional. even though you don't have like a beautiful website or whatever, you are doing the service, the client is paying you, it works. So focus on making things functional, not beautiful in the beginning. Once you have a lot of revenue coming in, then you can reinvest that into your business, do the extra things, grow it, but not initially. And payments platform, PayPal, Stripe, TransferWise come top of my mind. I'm using Stripe as of now.
Yeah, cool. So we'll take maybe one last question and then we probably wrap this up. So
Sure.
I see a lot of questions being asked about how do you manage time, or should I do a job? How do I manage, or I'm a student in college or high school, related to time and all that stuff. So how do you manage your time with freelancing and stuff?
You have to cut off a lot of things, okay? And I think the main decision which helped me in time management was I got into a college which didn't have any attendance issues. So if like you have to fulfill that 75% attendance criteria, then it gets really hard. But I think that was the first decision. But even after that, right? Even if you get 3 to 4 hours free every day, and you're like, no, I also want to hang out with people, I want to watch movies, I want to watch Netflix and stuff, then it doesn't make sense, right? You have to do a lot of sacrifices. And initially, it was a lonely journey, even for me. I was just in my room all the time trying to figure out this international clients game. Once you get used to it, once you just understand the process, and once you have things going, maybe you can, start taking a bit of time off. But with time management, it's just a lot about hustle. Even though it sounds very motivational, it's just true, right? You have only so many hours in a day. If you don't spend time on freelancing, you won't succeed at that. If you have other things to take care of, then all you have to do is work on the side and give up on other things which might be too entertaining for you. And yeah, that's how it works. But majorly for me, it has been the decision of choosing a college which didn't have attendance issues, so that I can work all day on this and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can definitely manage, right, with something else, putting in 2, 3, 4 hours a day.
Definitely. Yeah.
Uh, so I think that's about it. I mean, a lot of the questions are repeated. How do I get a first client, or what skill would you? So okay, we'll take one last one.
Sure.
So a lot of people ask, what skill should I start off with? I know it's a very vague question. It's not a great question to ask because we don't know what skill you guys like. But what do you think has demand? Maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
What is the skill that
So
has
when you're
demand?
choosing the skill, there are two things you should, and if you can get both of those things in, then it can be awesome. So the first thing is, of course, you should have some level of interest in it, okay? Because see, interest and passion, they are largely misunderstood by people, because they think they'll be having fun all the time. No matter how passionate you are about something, some days are just going to suck, okay? Things are not going to go well and stuff like that. So you just have to be overall interested in something, okay? It can be because you are just genuinely interested in it, or it can be because you have a lot of experience in it, so you already have a hang of it and you know what to do. It can be anything, okay? But overall, you should be interested in it. The second thing is, it should be profitable. And when we talk about profitable, right, the first thing you have to make sure is that the skill is not already automated, okay? Because see, there's this good quote which is, the future is already here, but it's not just evenly distributed, which is crazy softwares are already in the market. It's just that a lot of people don't know about it, so you think your service is good, okay? So you have to keep this in mind, which is, when you are starting off, right, just search for a tool for this service, okay? Let's say if your service is designing 3D mockups, right, which is, if someone launches an app and they want a very professional video of their app showing in their iPhone, that case and motion graphics and everything, you might be saying, wow, this is such a crazy skill, I'll start with that, I'll freelance with that. There's a software called Rotato. Google this, Rotato, which was known as Design Camera or something initially. It does it automatically, which means even though you might get clients now, because not a lot of people know about it, eventually it's just a very bad decision to take a battle with technology, because it's just going to grow popular. And when people know this can be done automatically, and so why should you pay a freelancer, right? So with profitability, you have to make sure that the skill is not already automated. And the way you can do it is just through a simple Google search, or Product Hunt is a great website to see if there's a tool for that. And if it's fully automated, then it's best to just lead that skill. If it's just, if it has just automated some parts of it, maybe you can use it to increase your own productivity. I mean, I use like dozens of tools to help me get more done each day than if I was not using those tools, right? So that's what you have to keep in mind. And then again, it's just a lot of testing and learning, right? When I started with content repurposing, social media management, it was just such a niche service that I didn't even know it will work. Okay, because most people, when they start freelancing, they're like video editing, Android development, web development. It's just a proven skill, okay, which gets you paid. But if you want to just experiment with something, it's just you have to think of it as a startup. Try getting some clients, get their feedback, what they are saying, and if everything seems to be going good, and if there is service market fit, then you can just keep going about that. But make sure you're overall interested in it, whatever the skill is, and then it should be profitable in the sense that it should be valued. And maybe you can test it through actually working with some people. Maybe you can just uh, use forums. Okay, a lot of people might have already done what you are about to do, so why not learn from their experience? I think Reddit is great. I think if you just do simple Google searches about people's experience with a certain type of skill, you will learn from their mistakes, and then you don't have to do it again. So make sure you're overall interested in it. Make sure there is value in that skill, which is it's not already automated. People value that skill. It helps them grow. It helps them fulfill a particular need. And then if you can find something which fulfills both of them, then I think that can be the best.
Definitely. Yeah, I really agree with what you said. Look at which skill can be automated. I never really thought of it from that perspective before. So it's also really important. People are asking web dev, web creation, website builder, and all that. There's tons of softwares out there that can automatically, no code required.
There's also nuance in there. Okay, maybe those softwares just design simple websites, and these designers can create custom websites. So there's nuance in there. But just see, the only way to succeed at something is the more you understand about it, okay, the easier it will, the better your decision making will get. Instead of, so a lot of people, what they do is they are so insecure about their skill working or not that they don't even want to talk about how it might not work. So active open-mindedness is very important. Try to think why what you are trying to do will not work. Try to come up with reasons. Detach yourself from your emotions, and try to think why what I'm trying to do will not work. And then you might actually find reasons, and then see if you can fix those. If you can fix those, if there's actually a reason which will not make it work, maybe there's just already a software, or maybe there's not enough demand for it, then it will save you time, right? So active open-mindedness is very important. Try to understand as much as possible about a particular industry, whichever niche you are in, whichever service you are selling, and then try to make better decisions based on that understanding. And no matter what you do in the professional world, nothing is guaranteed. It's not like, even if you do a lot of right things, there's also certain luck involved, and there are like a lot of factors. So don't think of checking all the boxes in the beginning. Just get started and figure it out on the way.
Yeah, completely agree. So I think a lot of you are asking, previously we're asking about the recording of this whole video, this whole session, and you can find the recording on BlueLearn's YouTube channel. I think even Ronit will put it on his YouTube channel, if I'm not wrong. So you can check those out, plus our website. Just go to bluelearn.in and then click on the events page, and you will see all of our past events as well. So don't worry, everything's being recorded. For you guys who came late, just go look at the beginning part. And I think we should wind it up now. But it has been super helpful. I'm looking at the chat and I'm seeing people who are saying, I've learned new things from you every time. And I personally have learned a new perspective into how I should look at things in the freelancing world. And thank you so much for this session, Ronit.
Yeah. You're welcome. And I know there are still very specific questions people have, which I wasn't able to answer because this industry is just so broad. So reach out to me on any of my social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, email, whatever. Make sure I don't promise a response, because if I get a lot of them, I don't know if I'll be able to answer to all of them. But if your question is very specific and it's easy for me to reply, or if I already have a resource, I'll definitely try to get back to everyone. And yeah, I hope I'll be able to help in that case as well.
Sure. That sounds great. Thank you so much, all of you guys, for attending and staying till the end. It's been a really great session. Thank you so much, Ronit. See you.
Awesome, Shreyans. Bye. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Yeah.